The meeting is called to order. Welcome to the Wednesday, April 25th Board of Education meeting. From 5:30 to 7 o'clock, we were in executive session going over the superintendent evaluation process and the review. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Introductions.
Dave Hurst.
Meredith Moriarty.
Holly Dellenbaugh.
Charmaine Widgesinger.
Jody Monroe.
Christine Beck.
Lynn Lenhart.
Michael Cooper.
Jonathan Fishbein.
And Judy Kehoe.
And PIG students, the requirement is till 9 o'clock unless the meeting gets out before then. If we are not finished by 9 o'clock, we will adjourn, and you just need to come up and either have your paper signed and sign the forms on the table. So if we could, we're going to approve the minutes from last week. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the minutes of the April 10th, 2018 regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I do have a question, and I forgot to check this, but there's a policy up for second read this week, which I thought was up on second read for last week, the one about students with disabilities and participation in district events. Wasn't that on second read? I didn't check the minutes.
I think
was
we
a
made
revision.
corrections
Yeah.
to it, so I believe it has to go to second.
A second read again? Okay. I thought it was already been corrected, but okay, thanks, that's my only question.
Well, we can check and see
Okay,
why it was
I
in
wasn't,
there
I didn't
twice.
check the minutes, so.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Is there any representative from the Student Senate here today? Okay, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Yeah, thank you. First, I'd like to announce that we found out yesterday, I believe, that Lynn Lenhart,
Oh, Lynn.
she's being recognized by the New York State Association for School Business Officials, as obviously her long history of being a board member, so they're recognizing her this year at their June state annual meeting. So
wow.
congratulations to Lynn. She was
Thank you.
selected out of hundreds and hundreds of nominees.
Wow,
I think.
congratulations.
So you get a nice dinner out of that, Lynn.
Well, lunch, but. Lunch.
Oh, lunch, maybe a plaque. So congratulations. Also, I wanted to bring up the board election during the budget vote. As you know, we have our 2 seats up for election, and we have one candidate who is on the ballot. So the process will actually be determined through a write-in for the second, for who the successful candidates will be. One of the challenges through a write-in vote is collecting the names at the end and making sure they're accurate. So we've obviously, reached out to our attorneys, Board of Elections. We have to announce it within 24 hours, correct, Judy, who the successful candidates are. So we wanted to bring it up for discussion to make sure that we have a meeting the following evening, and feeling that at 9 o'clock at night, tallying potentially thousands of write-in ballots would not be potentially accurate, and we had a little flaw last year. So thinking that it might be best if we let people know that we would make the official announcement at the meeting on the Wednesday following the actual election. But I wanted to make sure that everyone was in agreement with that, otherwise we could be announcing it at midnight or
But
later.
we'll still run the machine tabulations that evening.
So we still, you want to explain that process, Judy, about the
Sure.
tabulation?
So we'll run the tabulations, and that will tell us the results on all of the other propositions on the ballot. And we'll have a number as to how many write-in ballots have been cast, but there could be a dozen, 15. Typically, we have about 12 different write-in candidates. So depending on how many are there, we have to count them all up and make sure it's accurate. So we would do a count and a verification that next morning, and then we would be able to announce who the 2 top vote getters are, and those will be the new board members as of July 1st.
Because even with the, it tells us the number of write-ins, but you still have to manually go through each
Check
ballot
mark, yeah.
to see.
Yeah. I have a question about the ballots. There's 2 spots for write-ins, is that correct? 2
Yes.
slots. And has the design of the ballots, we had a big discussion about that last year after the problem. Has that been amended? Does that ballot look different than it did last year?
We are working with the county now, so
Yes.
we've seen their
Okay.
draft, we've given them some suggested edits,
Okay.
and we're waiting to get that back
Okay.
from the
We did-
county.
And Lynn and I, we reviewed it and we
Okay.
had some suggestions as well.
Okay. Is that something the whole board should eventually see before the election, just so? I would like to see the ballot before the election.
We can share it,
Okay.
certainly.
The final version.
With you.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
responsible
Did
to
we
make sure.
get the final draft on that, Brittany, or is it still in edit
I
mode?
gave them back our edits that we talked
Yes.
about today. I haven't gotten version 2 back yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
I think it's important the whole board looks at that ballot to make sure that we feel comfortable that it's, I realize you have the input, but the whole board should know what
Sure.
it looks like.
And keep in mind, we are somewhat restricted by the
Space.
Yeah, we can't vary too much from what the county will allow.
Right, I understand. I want to make sure that the bubbles are in the right.
They look great. They're a lot better than last year, but you'll see when you get the second
Yes, thank
copy.
you.
Judy, what is the standard for the write-ins? Say if someone spells someone's name wrong, what are our standards in terms of determining the intent of the voter?
Number one standard is legible, so that we can make it out, who the candidate is. If there is a misspelling, as long as we can reasonably deduce who the candidate is, we are able to count that. Schools have a little bit more flexibility in that regard than do the November elections, where spelling matters. But for instance, if the name was Brown with an E and somebody wrote Brown without an E, we could count that, so.
Thank you.
And we don't have to worry about any hanging chads?
We do not have to worry about hanging chads.
Wait a minute, this is a school election and spelling does not?
Ironic indeed, but technically, yes.
And just so everyone knows, on the write-ins, if someone is written in and they are a successful candidate, they have 5 days to decline if they don't want to, and then it would go to the next.
Is it
highest
accept or
person.
decline in 5 days?
It's decline, correct?
Yeah, and we have to make sure that they are in fact eligible, so
Right.
they have to meet the citizenship requirements, read and write, age 18 or older. And so assuming that they are qualified, we would send them an official letter that notes that they were the highest vote getter, and then they would have 5 days within which to decline. And if they don't act within that period, then they would come forward and be sworn in and start their term July 1st
5 days from the date of the letter?
of the notification.
So is everyone comfortable if we let people know we won't announce the winners until the following day?
Definitely.
Okay, so we'll make sure that that's communicated. Lastly, we have some art students here who we wanted to recognize who have had some outstanding achievements this year. Melanie Painter, who's the art supervisor, is going to show you some of their work and talk a little bit about their accomplishments, and we want to recognize them for their great work.
Thank you. So what we've done here is we are recognizing the students that were involved in our high school regionals. The high school regionals are collective exhibit, no, it's okay. I got excited, I was more famous than I was, but these are collective exhibits. With the students that are involved in this, there are over 23 school districts that send artwork to these exhibits. We each get to send 25 pieces of our artwork, and then they selectively decide with a juror, which is an artist that works in the region, and they decide how many pieces they're going to put into these shows. So generally, there's only 75 to 100 pieces between all of the Capital Region schools that get into this exhibit. So we're really proud of the students that were selected to be part of this. There are 2 exhibits that we're honoring tonight. One of them is at the Perella Gallery in Johnstown, New York. For this gallery show, I'm going to talk about some of the pieces that are in this, and the opening for that was actually last week. So we've gotten the artwork back from that show, but we have Nick Keller, Teresa Ricci, Jackson Lawler, Dylan Grigas, and Dylan actually received a Jurors Award for this piece as well. There were only 4 students that received Jurors Awards for this, and this was a cash prize that Dylan received. We also have Sophia Williams and Cece Amory, Ani Friedman, Grace Adamczyk, and Grace actually went and self-installed this piece out in the Perella Gallery because it was a site-specific installation that she created. Then we also have a few pieces that were involved in shows at the Albany Center Galleries. This is by Alexis Sell. This one here is by Julia Higgins. We have Molly Bogardus. And then we also have a few films, too, that I'm going to show you. This is by Emily Lash. And this is Olivia Metchik. We have a few films. The students are not all here, so I am going to skip ahead to the students' film that is here. We have Malvina Garin Bhatia and Molly Lemondola. So I'm going to show you Molly's piece here. Stop the light. And Molly's piece is entitled Letters. I'm gonna get out of here. Yeah, it's just a little stuck on the internet. Is there any sound?
Don't you love
It's okay.
technology?
Yeah, he's got the.
Hooked up to the speakers on the mics here.
Dear Katie, Dear Adam, Dear Hannah, thank you so much for the amazing gift. I did have. Hey, I hope you have a very, very happy Halloween. Happy spring! Plant our flowers and stuff very time. Thanks so much. And that you have so much fun trick-or-treating. I know I used to growing. I miss you so much. Love, love, Mom. Love, Mom. Love, Mom. Mom. Dear Molly, it was no problem at all. I'm so glad you enjoyed your present.
Dear Molly,
I
thank
hope
you so
all
much
is
for the
well.
lovely gift. I did have a
Dear
wonderful
Molly,
birthday.
thank you so much for your lovely card and happy spring to you as well. I hope all is well. Dear Katie, I'm done with cell phones. Letters only, please. Love, Molly.
And this film here and some of the other ones will actually be on display on May 5th and May 6th. They'll be on display for the opening of the reception at the Albany Center Galleries in conjunction with First Night Albany as well. So you can see Molly's film at that exhibit. Are we, can we call the kids
Yes.
up? Okay, so come on up, guys.
Here, Lynn, give me the mug. I'll take the mug. Oh, it's just a BC mug. But we keep the pens in it. I know, it's just like Vice President on that, so I was always the pen holder. I always had a little pen.
Can I let their parents take pictures?
Any photos?
It'll be on the website. Because all the kids look in different directions. They look at their own parents, so you have the kids looking at I know this from prom pictures, just so you know, and all the parents get up there and take pictures. The kids are all looking at their own parents in this picture. So you get this picture, but all the kids are looking at different directions.
Okay.
It'll be on the website too, if you look on the website.
Sorry, go with me, I've got it all over the place.
This is wonderful. Can I mention something too? At the public library, I'm not sure if any of these students have art on Exhibit 2, but that's great too.
Yeah,
Great
it's a great
exhibition
gallery.
of art at the Bethlehem Public Library.
Yeah, I can cross that off my list.
Thank you.
All right, that's my superintendent's report. Thank you.
Now for the Board of Education report.
Well, I just mentioned the art exhibit.
Yeah, so,
So if you have to go to the library and look at the walls, I mean, it's really impressive.
yeah, this past Saturday, we ran the Lady Eagles track championships at our track, hosted 18 teams. We want to congratulate Guilderland, who did come in first place in terms of points. Bethlehem came in second out of 18.
That's great.
And it's a great collaboration between parents on the booster clubs, the athletes, coaches, and officials, and the community who donated quite a bit on sponsorships. Is also one of the biggest fundraiser for the track team because we charge for concessions and other things, T-shirts.
Meredith, Holly, anybody?
Well, last week was the lip sync at Ellesmere that I
nice.
attended. And of course, the kids all had fun and did great. But what really struck me was the participation of the teachers. This is just, another example of the many things that teachers do above and beyond their daily classroom duties. Not only did they make the entire program run smoothly, but they did a wonderful program at the end that must have taken them a very long time to practice. And all those, hours they spent, well, maybe not hours, but a good chunk of time that they spent practicing and putting it all together, obviously meant a whole lot to the students who really enjoy watching their teachers up there performing. And it just shows how much the teachers care about our kids and also how much our kids care about their teachers, how excited they were to see them. So I just wanted to thank them and all of our teachers for everything they do outside of their normal classroom duties.
And yes, Monday night was the first of the spring concert series, so I got to attend that, and it was wonderful as always. I see a couple choir girls back there, and it was probably I don't know, they're seniors, so I think it being the last one was very special, but it was really, really good. And so I was happy I got to see it. There's another one tomorrow night with some more music, so if you have a chance to come out and see it, that would be great. And I think the jazz concert isn't till the election. I think they
Yes, they do it
play
on
the night of the
budget vote.
budget vote,
Yep.
so. But yes, so come out and see one of our wonderful ensemble groups, so.
Chamber dinner.
What was that?
I said the chamber dinner is
Oh, and the
tomorrow.
chamber
Yeah.
dinner's tomorrow,
That's it.
and we will be celebrating Lynn's 30 years. It's been a big celebration this whole half of the year. You're going to celebrate it everywhere. It's
Well,
awesome.
they didn't, well, yeah. I was gonna say, they didn't know I was leaving when they awarded.
So, but hey, you know, it's well
We
deserved,
also have
so.
a student, Tessa Hughes,
Tessa
who's
Hughes.
being nominated.
Nominated.
And is being recognized tomorrow night as well.
Okay, great.
Which is great.
So I'm looking
That's-
forward to it, and I think most of us are going, so I think that's great.
I will say, I noticed that on the district web, I was looking at the website for something, and it mentions Lynn and my retirement on the website. And in our write-ups, it talks about the amount of training we were recognized for doing. And I just want to encourage board members, I have found the training immensely helpful. And this board is known for getting awards, not that we do it to get the awards, but for the number of hours we put in for training, because it's always been very valuable. So for my colleagues who are remaining on the board, I encourage you to participate in as much training as possible. I've found it very helpful.
Actually, there's an ISBA workshop, it's only a half a day one on May 17th, on 20, Future 2030, looking at students, and then Bill Daggett, who's, well, I've heard before, but I've really liked
Yeah,
him.
I think I said, yeah.
Will be there along with the commissioner, talking about Vision 2030, so, and it's free.
Yeah.
It's free for members of NISBA. So
Okay.
if anybody can go, that'd be great.
Anybody else? All right, thank you. Next up, we have Ray Nardelli, the Director of Technology, giving a presentation on the Smart Schools Bond. Okay.
Hello. So, the Smart Schools Bond was passed in 2014, and this was a New York State wide initiative where $2 billion were set aside for educational technology, and each district throughout New York gets a little slice of the pie. And Bethlehem got a little over $2 million, and there's no spending deadline. So when Sal D'Angelo left, one of his projects that he left in my lap was to continue to discuss what we should do with our money. He gave me his opinions based on 7 years that he was here. So going forward, just a little bit about the Smart Schools Bond is that here's the requirements include you have to engage with the community, and we've been trying to do that. I've been trying to do that for the last, ever since I started here, talking to teachers, talking to administrators, talking to parents and students about what we need in the district to improve. Our infrastructure needs to be up to date in order to invest, in order for them to accept our investment plan. We're about double. Our infrastructure has about double the bandwidth of what they require. Their requirement is pretty low. So Bethlehem is not special with their infrastructure, but it's a very solid infrastructure. And we are going to improve that before the end of the year with a second internet connection. I think I mentioned that during my presentation about a month ago. Sustainability, we need to be able to sustain whatever investment that we purchase. So that's an important piece of this puzzle. And then we also have to reach out to the non-public schools in the area, and I did that, and I'll talk a little bit of detail about that. So what can we spend our money on? Well, we can spend it on infrastructure, but we don't need to at this moment. Sal left me in good hands. We were going to have to refresh every 4 or 5 years, but we're not there yet. We'd spend our money on learning technologies, and some of the examples that they give in this in the Smart Schools policy is whiteboards, servers, computers, Chromebooks, that kind of thing. So anything that would enhance the classroom and the learning, the curriculum. We could also spend our money on modernizing pre-K programs. And then the last one, which I think, to me, is just very interesting moving forward for me, another phase, is high-tech security features. So things like surveillance cameras, emergency notification systems, things like that. I know the last bond included a lot of additional surveillance cameras, so that's a part of the current plan. So that's what we can spend our money on. Now, based on, there we go. Like I said, since I got here in July, I've been, obviously engaged with the community, talking to different people about what's needed. And one of the things that has really, come out as a top priority is our classrooms in our high schools and our middle schools. The technology in those spaces are very old. We're putting Band-Aids on to kind of get teachers through the school year. I've hesitated to spend a lot of money until we can kind of come up with a collaborative solution for our classrooms. So rather than just do a one-off purchase here and there to keep this teacher happy, that teacher happy, I've been trying to shuffle devices around to kind of keep the classrooms moving. So to that end, we did just complete, it's almost a 2 to 3 month pilot where we put, we engaged with 10 teachers in the high school, 10 teachers in the middle school, and we gave them a piece of technology for 2 weeks to teach with, and then we gave them another piece of technology to teach with. One was our short throw projector. You all, I think you've seen those around. In order to make this portable and pilotable, we had to put this on a cart, which was not ideal, but still a lot of teachers had very favorable responses to the short throw projector. And then the other one was a flat screen LCD interactive panel that we have 4 of those on carts, 2 here in the high school and 2 in the middle school. So we're gathering information from teachers. We haven't had a meeting yet to bring them all together to get them to tell us what they thought, but we've been doing surveys along the way. So every time a teacher finished with their device, we gave them a survey and had them write their thoughts in. We're also trying to schedule product demonstrations to show the teachers what's out there, what's possible. A lot of times it's difficult for a teacher to ask for something when they don't know what's out there. So this past Monday, we did have 2 product demonstrations, and I was pleased. We had about 25 or 30 teachers in the room watching these demonstrations and they were LCD flat panels is what they were.
Before you leave, that's like, I ask you, those 20 teachers, were they across different, a range of disciplines?
Yeah, we asked the supervisors, the department supervisors to choose. So yeah, every single discipline was represented. Yeah.
And the question about that projector back there, aren't there a lot of those kinds of projectors in the classes now?
They are in the high school. Every science classroom has one.
Okay.
There's a lot of them in the elementary schools.
Okay.
But not very many in non-science classrooms.
Okay, great. I think it just looks very familiar, so maybe
Yeah.
it's just from being in the
Yeah,
elementary
for
classes.
sure.
Okay, thank you.
So here's a little bit of a history. This is what we have. This is when they were purchased. Our inventory isn't fantastic, but kind of picking through and looking at serial numbers and that kind of thing, I was able to determine these numbers. So this amounts to about 90 different interactive boards that were purchased since 2009. So as you can see, the bulk of them were purchased in 2010, and then another bunch in 2013. I think there may be more that aren't on here, that aren't a part of my records. Improving inventory in my department is another priority. But
I was just wanting to ask whether you know if the numbers include boards that were purchased by PTAs.
that's a really good question. I don't know the answer. I wonder that myself, because I know in Slingerland's, a lot of those boards were purchased with PTA funds, and I don't know if they're part of our inventory. I'd have to,
Okay.
do some serial number cross-checking or something.
I know that's the case at least a couple of the other elementary schools as well.
Yeah, okay. So here's just a little flavor of what's in our rooms right now. So we have 2 interactive board types primarily. About a third of our boards, or maybe a quarter, are smart boards by the Smart Company. And so what happens is you get a projector, you project an image on one of these interactive boards, and you can actually, with a pen, touch the board, and you can annotate, and you can, actually control your computer when things are connected via USB. The other type that we have, this is probably about 2/3 or 3/4 of our boards are Promethean boards. Same concept, projectors hanging from the ceiling, projecting onto the board, and there's that interactivity. And then about half of our class, what I didn't say is we have about, this is rough, but about 100 classrooms in the middle school and 100 classrooms in the high school. Seems like there would be more here, but we're actually doing an inventory right now to determine what's in every classroom. We're taking pictures. In fact, some of these pictures are from the inventory that we're doing. But about half of our classrooms have just a standard pull-down screen with projector, so no interactivity at all, just a screen and your standard projection.
Can I ask you another question? I've been in a math class where the instructor plugged, I don't know, her calculator into something. Well, she was projecting from her calculator onto one of these boards, problems and all the rest, and then the kids had their own calculators. So which one of that, do you know which one of those?
I'm going to ask Dave Hurst to answer that.
Well, it could actually be
It was
used with
Ms. Mahmood.
any of the 3, because we have 2 different types. We have
Okay.
ones where the actual physical calculator hooks into a converter that then plays through a projector.
Okay,
But we also have where it's installed right on the teachers' laptops.
okay,
And they're able to, same
Okay,
thing.
got it.
But it works with all 3.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So as far as what we're looking at, this is an example of an interactive display. This one's installed up in Rachel Linehan's classroom. This is a Promethean active panel, it's called. And this has, the very interesting thing about these new technologies is that they're interacting with our Google world. So a teacher can annotate, they could bring up a website, let's say for example, with a map, and then they could circle some things, write some things, and then they can send that right to Google Classroom so the kids can have access to that image, or they could save it to a Google Drive or put it on a worksheet. They can also use apps. So this is like a big tablet, or a big honking phone. That's really what it is. It's on the wall, and you just put apps on it just like you do on your phone. They get updated. The operating system gets updated over the cloud. When they come out with an update, just like on your phone, you update it, and you've got the latest and greatest, and you're installing apps on it, just like your phone. And then the other one, of course, and this, Charmaine, I'm sure you've seen this many times in B115. That's the short throw projector. And that's why you've seen these, all over campus. This one I don't think is interactive. They make a couple different models, but this one's interactive over here, where you can actually, control the computer from your device.
Why is it called short throw?
Short throw because
Is this closer?
it's a very short throw projection onto a screen.
Okay,
It's
I wasn't
not-
sure if it meant like there was some limitation.
As
to it or something.
opposed to this guy, that's a pretty long throw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got
okay.
it.
Really,
All right, so it's just the distance to
It
the
is the
screen.
distance,
Got it.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we understand.
So as far as the engagement with the community, this is just a little bit of a list of what we've done. This really does come from the teachers. I've met with the district-wide tech committee, faculty meeting. I did a presentation at the middle school and the high school, President's Council to get some parent feedback, our supervisors, our academic supervisors, elementary principals. We did admin council today. So I've really, encouraged feedback, encouraged, as much input as people wanted to give me. And honestly, I'm not getting much at all because I think everyone realizes that this is a worthwhile investment for us. So, okay, as far as non-publics, I'll talk about these really quickly. So at the time that this bond came out, 2014, they took a snapshot, the state took a snapshot of our enrollment here at Bethlehem and also the enrollment of these three schools. So we are basing our money, the allocation for these three schools based on the 2014 enrollment. It's all published on the state website, so you can download it and see. And so I have contacted each of these, and they get a percentage based off of what we're spending. So I am estimating at this point 200 interactive boards for our middle school and high school at an investment of $1.1 million. And then based on that, St. Thomas, Mount Moriah, and Bethlehem Children's School, gave me their requests based on the dollar amount that I gave them.
For the equipment that goes to the non-public schools, are we responsible for the upkeep and maintenance of those once they're delivered?
Technically, we are. They're borrowing them. Just like I think other initiatives that the turnaround time is 3 months or less is what I hear. So.
Because then we'd have to borrow money or something.
I was going to ask
Yeah,
where the money's
I
coming
was
from.
hearing about
Yeah.
60-day turnaround, so we'll invoice them quickly and.
Is the first question I asked. I'm like, how can we do this? Do we have that kind of money?
I appreciated that.
But the staff time to maintain that is all coming out of our budget because it's our staff.
Correct.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the sustaining our investment piece of the requirement. So, if we have 200 boards that we're installing in the middle school and high school, we have to prove that we can sustain it. And this is my org chart from the IT department. I'm blessed to have, 9 folks working for me, in addition to some dotted line connections with SES, our special education tech network administrator. But I'm going to just pull up to say our client services department or team is headed up by Navarre Johnson. And we've just hired Mike Nadgett and Marcin Marjulewski in the last 4 months. So we have I'm excited that we have a really professional client services help desk team now. Plus we have all of our students who are working and going out and doing things here in the high school and then during breaks and summers, help us out. So as far as sustaining this investment, first of all, if we end up going with the LCDs, there's no moving parts in those. These require more maintenance than the LCDs. These have about a 6-year life, 6-7-year life. The LCDs 10 to 12 years life. But no cleaning, no filter cleaning, no spinning fans, no nothing with the LCDs. So those things are pretty easy once we install. Easy to install too. And then, I was just going to say that the Chromebooks were a much scarier endeavor for the team because, we have these, 2,000 devices that are walking around in student backpacks and they're falling on the ground. And so to be able to support those, maintain those has been a challenge. And we're a certified Acer repair shop now. These 3, are plus others are taking Chromebooks apart, repairing them. So anyway, I think we have a lot of a good evidence that we can sustain the investment that the state would accept. Phase 2 of our plan, I just want to put this out there that I'm not forgetting about our elementary schools. Our elementary schools classroom technology has been updated more recently than our middle schools and high schools, so they're not in as desperate need as our middle schools and high school. But that's not to say that as soon as I hit the submit button for phase 1, I'll turn right to phase 2 and start talking to the elementary schools, setting up pilots, trying to figure out what's best for them in their classrooms. So that's coming. And then, like I mentioned, there could be some security pieces that we might want to look a little bit closer at as far as a phase 2 spending. Timeline, today is the 25th. I'm hoping that if this looks okay to the board and you approve the preliminary spending plan, that we'll post this on our website by the end of the week anyway. That gives the public a chance to read it over, and then they can attend the May 16th Board of Education meeting and ask any questions, clarifications. And then again, if everything goes well, I'm hoping that by the end of May, we can actually, go on the state site and hit the submit button and wait and wait and wait. Hopefully not too long, but.
So is the process that we then get approval from the state before we expend the money to buy the boards?
Once we get approval, then we have to actually, then we'll go and spend the money, and that's where that loan comes, or whatever, however we come on, have the money. But then, then the state will reimburse us. Yes.
And do you see with these boards, is there going to be any need for any additional training on the part of the teachers or the staff using them?
Absolutely, yeah. Both boards are fairly simple, and I think our folks have a good idea of how to use them, but there's always a lot more to these things than someone can pick up right out of the box. So, yeah, the vendors that I've been talking to, they all have professional development piece part, which is a part of their delivery of the product plus.
Okay.
So absolutely. And I think, we internally, with our tech coaches and other things, we would become as familiar as we can possibly be with these things, and then offer lots of, after-school sessions, one-on-one sessions. And the one nice thing, if we can keep these consistent from classroom to classroom to classroom, teachers will be sharing with each other, once they find things and share how they're doing.
Is the professional development piece of it built into the cost of the board, or is that an additional piece of the district?
That would be a piece of our existing structure. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's part of our professional development plan that it currently exists.
Okay.
Even though some of the boards that Ray presented have been in existence at the district 10 years, we're still doing trainings on those boards that exist now. Every year there's software updates, there's enhancements, so you're always sort of retraining on the new features of the boards. So it's really just going to be continuing to train as we always have. It's not really an increased budget item.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You mentioned that you had about 20 teachers trying out two different types, the LCD and the projector. First, what was their feedback about what type of, which one of those models worked better?
Well, it's interesting.
Or are we planning on doing a variety,
Yeah, we didn't ask that question specifically yet.
Okay.
We were just asking for feedback, like what's the positive pieces, what are the negative pieces of these different technologies. The plan was to bring these 20 teachers together and have a meeting, have a discussion, and talk it through. So we have the written feedback to this point, but I want to bring everyone back together. I also think it's really important that I put in front of the teachers some of the newest technologies, believe it or not. The LCD that we purchased last year doesn't have some of the functionality that exists, which is why I brought the two vendors in on Monday. And I actually had a teacher come up to me and say, a middle school teacher, who said, I didn't think there was anything that can convince me away from the short throw projector. He said, but now I'm sold on what I just saw. So my hope is just to give the teachers as much information as they can, so that, because ultimately, this is a big investment, and we're talking, it's a 8 to 10 year investment. I want the teachers to realize that it's their decision, and I want them to be happy with the choice that they've taken.
If the technology does change so quickly, have we thought about making us fewer purchases, but do it every year instead of buying 200 boards all at the same time?
One of the issues that I'm dealing with is that because so much of our classroom technology is out of date, I have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I think before that money comes through, I'm probably going to have to buy some additional projectors just to kind of hold us down, until our true our true solution comes in. So unfortunately, we don't have a lot of play there to push this off or phase it in. I think there's so many classrooms in need of this update. And as far as technology changing often, the one nice thing about these LCD boards, again, which I am a fan, but they come with the device that is actually a part of the brains of it is interchangeable. So every 4 years, you would just like you might buy a new phone or a new computer every 4 or 5 years, you would actually and I just ordered 2 of them today because we have 2 boards similar to these, and they were $300 investment. So that'll help keep us on top of the changes, is my hope.
I just want to add a little bit to that too. In terms of the professional development, if we buy things piecemeal, 20 here, 20 here, 20 here, now every teacher has potentially a different board, and now you're speaking different languages. That's one of the frustrations we have now. As you saw, we have 3 completely different technologies around the district. And you could be teaching right next to somebody and see, wow, you just did something amazing. Can you teach me how to do it? And then all of a sudden it's, oh, but that doesn't work on my board. So trying to create professional development opportunities when you have 20 different devices in play becomes very problematic. Keeping things consistent across the buildings makes things much easier from a professional development standpoint, and also, to be fair, from a technology service standpoint. Obviously, the fewer devices you have, you can become more of an expert in repairing those, and also you can have sort of standby parts when you've got, devices after device after device. Trying to maintain that inventory becomes much more of a challenge as well.
I had a question. With the surveys that you received, and I know they were specific to the individual devices, whether it's the projector or the LCD, what were some of the survey comments? Did you see that some people really liked the projectors or didn't like some of the functionality, and some really liked the LCDs and some didn't like the functionality? So was
Exactly. Yeah, it was
Okay.
really, some of the comments, it's been about a week or more since I went through them, but like the LCD, has a potentially a less wide viewing angle. So like students sitting way over there or way over there had difficulty seeing the LCD.
Okay.
There's a little bit of a glare issue with the LCD also. The short throw projector, let's see. The one benefit that a lot of teachers like about the short throw is that they don't lose their whiteboard. So you can project right onto the whiteboard, and then you can use your whiteboard as a whiteboard, or you can use it as a projection space. Whereas, an LCD, you're going to put it up, it's going to take up some space. But there's some pretty amazing technology with the whiteboard. What we watched on Monday, LCD, they have this, they call it the infinite whiteboard, because just like on your phone, or I don't know if you've ever done this, but you can draw something, and then you could actually scroll it and move it, and then, or you can make it smaller and continue to write, and just basically, so there are some pretty interesting developments happening on that front. Let's see, what were some of the some of the comments were, this particular device, it was laggy, like the latency was high, so like you'd be writing and it would didn't seem to be like as if I was writing on a whiteboard. But I heard that from both. So, and sometimes I think it's potentially the setup. These things are also, the short throw projectors, you have to calibrate every so often, whereas the LCDs you don't. And I think depending on what was connected to the device could have an impact on on people's perspectives and their experiences. So certainly not a perfect pilot. A perfect pilot would be like where an IT person is in there the whole time, just making sure that they know what they're doing and it's going, as well as it can be going. But so it was, I would say, quick snapshot. It was kind of 50-50, not what I want.
So that's the next question. So do you want one platform across the board, so it wouldn't be 50-50 where you would invest in both?
Yeah, yes, the answer is yes. And
Yes as in?
Yes, as in I would like to,
One.
I would like to standardize. I came in last year in July, and the middle school, I don't know why, if this was unusual, but the middle school had like teachers moving all over the place, zigzagging like rooms. And so we had to like literally move equipment. You know, this person liked the Promethean board, this person liked the
Okay.
Smart board, this person didn't. So we were moving stuff all over the place. You know, so that was one nightmare that I'd like to, you know, avoid.
And what's the
Plus,
cost for
what's
each
that?
one? Is one less?
The short throw is probably $1,000 less, something like that.
Per unit?
Yeah.
And that's where they would still use their smart board if they preferred, they could use it as.
Or, no, you wouldn't, no, you would use a whiteboard. You would use a standard whiteboard.
Okay.
Now, the smart, all the boards that are out there will be removed. And, you know, because this short throw can have interactivity. I mean, and so you can do all the things that you could with a smart board, with a Promethean board. It's just kind of done through the computer. That's the way it
Okay.
works.
So what was the cost of this short throw versus the LCD?
The LCD probably all in is about 5,000 per unit, and the short throw has the installation charge is more because of the calibration and the hanging it from the ceiling, that kind of thing, and that's probably about $4,000.
So.
But the time, the length of useful life, the LCD is longer,
Yeah,
correct?
it is longer, and also,
Yeah.
as Dave's reminded me, you have to change bulbs in projectors, whereas LCDs you don't. So that,
I think you're leaning towards the LCD. I get that feeling, I could be wrong.
purely from a technical standpoint, and I think they're more powerful. I
Okay.
think in the long run, it would make, you know, I think our
So it makes
teachers would be
sense.
happier. But, you know, like I said, I just want to get this stuff in front of them. Oh, and by the way, so we just ordered 2 devices, and we're getting another pilot device. So what the teacher saw on Monday, we're going to get it in their hands so that they can spend a couple of days in the classroom with the same device that they saw. Yeah.
And I did have one last question. You indicated in the beginning that you wanted to come up with a collaborative type of solution. What type of requests were you getting, the different type of requests from the teachers? You indicated that there was.
Oh, they just that their equipment was failing, if that's.
And they had different preference, everybody had.
Well, they just wanted to replace whatever was in their,
Okay.
room. Like, if they had a Promethean board in their room, they want a Promethean board.
Okay.
If they had just a projector on the screen, but the projector's getting super, super light, they just want a new projector.
Okay.
So that's really what,
Okay,
yeah.
great, thank you.
Can I just suggest for that public hearing, be on the website, maybe SNN's, but also perhaps reaching out to the Spotlight for people who don't get SNN, to just encourage as many
Sure.
areas of the public to come in.
Yeah, I'll be working with communications on that.
So tonight, Ray, the board just needs to tentatively approve your plan so it can be posted on the website for public input, and then they officially approve it at the May 16th meeting, correct?
Correct.
That you would submit to state.
Yeah, unless there's public comment that would require me to make some
Right,
changes. Yeah.
right. So are you?
I'll move to approve the tentative plan
Second,
as presented.
I'll second it. Is it an agenda item, or are we just doing it like an add-on?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, okay. So I second it.
So you're all set.
Now you say any questions?
All in favor, any discussion? Sorry. Because I thought we didn't have to vote on it. I thought we just had to discuss it, but we did. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation.
At this time, we'd like to recognize any visitors here that are on an agenda item. Okay. Item number 8, Finance. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following finance action items. 1.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item number 9, Professional Personnel. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following professional personnel action items 1 through 3.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question. James, the person there, it says personal leave to accept another position in the district?
He's one of our hall principals currently.
Okay.
So he's been a social studies teacher. He took a year leave this year, and he's taking another year leave next year from his social studies position.
Okay, to be the hall
to be the hall
principal.
principal.
Do we have to reappoint him to that position, or?
No, he had to put in for the personal leave to continue.
Okay,
Do you
He was
want to
already
say-
appointed to probationary position
okay.
in the beginning of this year, so that carries
It
through.
just carries through. Okay, great. That's my only question. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item number 10, support personnel. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following support staff action items 1 through 7.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just congratulations on some of the long-time employees who are retiring.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item number 11, other action items. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following action items 1 through 5.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
On some of these policies, on the harassment policy, not the regulations, but I think it's the policy. Can we project by any chance?
It's up there.
Yeah, I think that's it. So in the third paragraph, okay, let's see if I can read this. I thought there says something, when you delete those specific methods that it says, it was talks like in writing and written and voice, can you just say why those were deleted, the committee? See where it's crossed out? Should refer to any written, verbal, blah, 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 communication. Why was that crossed out, do you know? I know, as if anyone can see it, but those are specific methods were taken out. Any reason?
This was,
That's harassment policy, not
Right.
regulations.
I think it was because the different forms are fully defined
Right.
below.
right,
So it didn't make sense to have the shorthand
right.
up there.
This was a policy we had sent to our attorneys for
Okay.
review because of some of the new changes,
Okay.
and this was what came back to us for changes, but as Mike said, that it was,
Redundant.
yes.
Okay. And then there was, in that same policy, I think, I can't even read my own handwriting, sorry. Our investigation and resolution section, it talks about involving parents, but what about if someone's over 18?
Is that in the regulations?
It's in the regulations.
I think it's in the sorry, it might be in the regulations. So something, it talks about involving the parents in terms of investigation and resolutions.
Then if a student is 18 or over, then you could involve the parents, but you don't have to.
Okay, should that be in there at all? Or is it just implied?
That's how it is for anything with student, if they're 18 or older,
Okay.
the parents can or cannot be involved.
Okay. Okay, and then, so any discussion on that? Anyone? No? All right, and the healthy.
Wellness policy.
The wellness policy, sorry. Where it says, I think it says health, my shorthand says something about healthy. There's no section there that says school health services is listed in one of those letters. Oh, it's under K, that's why, okay. So,
Yep.
see where it says school health
services.
services? That's the only place I think that wording appears. So I wasn't sure if it meant something else, or if it was the district health committee or
Health
something.
team that
The
we
health
refer-
team, but that was the only place where school health services appeared, and I wasn't sure what it meant.
So this was one of the pieces we added to the wellness policy was the emotional and mental health piece, which we had not previously had.
Right.
School health services refers to our nurses. We'll continue working with counseling, psych, and social service on referring and supporting students.
Okay.
So that's in there is item K, because that's one of the things they're currently doing.
Right.
So
I
that's-
was just with the question about the school health services didn't appear anywhere else. Everything else was about the health teams and coordinated health team. So
Right.
that meant, that means the nurses.
Right.
Is that what we use on the district website?
I would just check the
On
language
the
to make sure
main
it's
page
consistent.
where you can go into departments, does
I
it
think
say
it's-
school health?
I think it says
services?
health services.
I think it does.
Yeah.
That's where I think they got the,
Can you
but I
check
wasn't
that?
sure.
Yeah.
I think it's school, I think it is health services
Just so they're
on the website.
consistent, yeah.
But that's
So
what
should-
that's referring to.
Okay. Right, so it should say district or school. That was my only question, was that I didn't, that word just jumped to health services, and I didn't know what it meant.
It is on the website, health
Okay.
services.
Okay. That's
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We're going to vote on the Capital Region BOCES administrative budget for 2018-19. It is recommended that the Board of Education vote to approve the following administrative budget of the Capital Region BOCES.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I will just say, I think Mike, Lynn, and I were at the meeting where they did an extensive presentation on the budget. It made sense to me. I don't know if you had any questions or things you'd recommend, or?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. It is recommended that the Board of Education vote on items 1 through 3 separately to elect 3 candidates on the ballot for the board members of the Capital Region BOCES.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Just to make sure, Lynn, do we have to vote on each one where it says 1 through 3 separately? So do we have to vote on each candidate separately?
I don't think so, because there are
only
just
one
3
person.
seats
Three
and
seats.
Okay.
3 people, so there was
So
no
we're good with that
opposition.
vote? Okay.
Congratulations, Lynn.
Congratulations.
Well, you said-
Well, I can't.
You thought you
I know,
retired.
Save everything, so.
Be too much all at once, right? At this time, we'd like to recognize any visitors that are here on a non-agenda item. Future meetings and events, we just want to make sure that everyone's aware that on 5/1, Meet the Candidate Night is canceled since we have one candidate. And he's very lucky that he doesn't have to do Meet the Candidate Night. I think, how many did we have last year? Do you remember?
8.
8. We had 8 last year, so.
It would be entertaining, though, to watch him talk to himself.
Yes, we could just come with like all questions for you, like 20 of them. But you participated last year, so it wasn't like you got out, so. Wednesday, May 2nd?
That meeting about Monday? No, I'm just asking the Monday meeting.
Oh,
when
okay.
We're getting together.
I don't think so. On Wednesday, May 2nd, we have our regular Board of Education meeting, and it starts at 7 o'clock. And we have our annual school district budget vote on Tuesday, May 15th, in the high school from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then we have the anticipated, we'll be voting on the results, and we have our regular board meeting on the 16th at 7 o'clock. At this time, we're going to reconvene to executive session. And is that it? To discuss a personnel matter. And do I do?
Technically, we probably should vote to go back in, and then we'll
Okay.
adjourn, then we have to go back in public to adjourn.
I have a motion to go back into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
I can do this before. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carried.
You don't have to stay for that.
All right, so PIG students can come up and you can sign out.